Joy, 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 ever new joy, joy.
I want to say you've always been like impressive at just how active and physically good and healthy you've been your whole life.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's partially your personal story too.
It is. Well, I turned 80 now.
Yeah.
And naturally, the shorter, this is something we were talking about, the shorter span you have left in your life, the more your perspective changes.
Uh-huh.
When you have 6 or 7 decades, the decisions you make and the goals you have are very, very different than when you're in a nursing home and you have maybe 6 months to live.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it becomes about people, friendships, simple things in life.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much looking out into, what I might become, what my career might be, how much money I make. Mm-hmm. Those things all go by the wayside.
Yeah.
Now you're worried about what it is, the quality of your life measured primarily by relationships and the people you love and care about. And it's very interesting. Yeah.
Would you have done anything differently if you were to talk to your young self and say, you shouldn't really focus on that, you should do this, or is it just kind of a natural? I mean, would you listen anyway, I guess?
I think it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit natural. Because when you're starting out in life, there's some good reasons to be looking long term about education, career, those goals that are pursued more in a long-term way. But I think also having enough maturity and knowledge of things like this to know that the deeper thing that's going to be important to you over the long run is the relationships you develop.
Yeah.
And maintaining those relationships and nurturing those relationships and expanding those relationships. Now that's one thing we have at Ananda. I just started working in this care and aging committee.
Okay.
And we have got a serious problem at Ananda. Our demographics, we have over 102 people will be in their 70s by the end of this year. So that is a huge percentage of our population that are moving into the years where, I don't know why I'm eating almonds when I'm trying to talk.
That's fine.
Where we all begin to face various illnesses, karmically, genetically, begin to enter our lives, and we have people with cancer, with Alzheimer's, with you name it. We have this whole plethora of issues beginning to hit our population, which are a natural part of aging. And then one of the biggest ones of all is the cognitive function of people when they get into their 80s like I am and older. Cognitive function begins to decline. And that creates a big problem in people being able to take care of themselves. And then how do we as a community be able to provide the necessary care for all the people who are experiencing, in a typical, we've got people getting a hip replaced, people getting a knee replaced, people having a stroke, people getting diagnosed with cancer, people
Parkinson's.
be going into like Nalini, a beautiful Nalini, just went into hospice. The clock is ticking now, and she's in hospice. So how do we as a community of 200 people provide for, nurture and care for, and try to keep a quality level of life for all of those people as to the degree that we can? Where do we get the manpower and the time to do that? We certainly don't lack in the willingness to do it and seeing the need to do it, and basically having the teachings and the framework in which it's way more possible than out in the world. We have we can get people to volunteer to take Nalini to the doctor, to bring her down and put her in a wheelchair and get her into the Temple of Light and help her get up on the stage so she can still sing in the choir when she can barely can't even walk really. So we have an abundance of willingness of people to provide care for people. Like I was been helping Vasanta is now fairly down the road with cognitive function, and he is can't be away from Monkey's side for 5 minutes without, where's Monkey, what's going on? And so I've been able to spend some time with him and found some ways to keep him occupied and going, and I don't know, I just think it's something that we're going to need to put a lot more energy in as the clock ticks on and we begin to pass off. The other part of this is all of these people are holding responsible positions that make this community run. And yes, we have some really fine young people, but we have a lot of, what do you do without Prakash? What do you do without Ramu? What do you do without Rick down at the office? What do you do without Aban? What do you do without countless number of people who are intrinsic and vital to our ability to run this community? And so it's a extremely challenging time that we're going to be facing, and I have a lot of hope for it because we have people like Karuna and a lot of people part of this care and aging committee, and I think that it's solution oriented, but it's still a big deal, a big deal for us to put our aura around that and really give the quality of care we want to, especially for aging yogis who are not just trying to, go to peacefully pass on pain-free, but they want to be able to keep their connection with the divine, with Master Deep, and feel like they go out in a state of grace, not go out, worrying about so full of pain medications that they are unable to think or meditate or be able to be present very clearly. And we can keep them cognitive enough that they can enjoy the friendship of their friends. They can be able to have people come and visit them and treat them like people. Don't treat them like at a nursing home. Pretty soon this lady gave this example. She was 21 years old. She had a serious accident. She's in the hospital for 3 months. She had multiple broken bones. Her legs are up in a cast. She's in a room with 3 other women. They're all in their 70s. They've all had hip or knee replacements, and they're all in the same position they are. The physicians come into the room, and they give all of their energy to her, all about what's going on with her, what's going on to her, and then they'll go by the other lady and say, "Yeah, hi Meg, how you doing? Looks like things are going pretty well," and they're gone. But, it's because they had written them off. There was medically, they had no way to prolong their life and to keep them and to get them to return to full function. They were done. They had done what they can do for them, and now they did have this one girl here. There was still someone they could work with and do what doctors do. Doctors want to cure people. When you have someone that you can't cure them, all you can do is what do they call it? Palliative care, which is the hospice, in their wonderful way of doing it, keep people going. So anyway, it's an interesting time at Ananda and in our work as we age and we figure out how are we going to work with this aging population who's going to be less cognitively function, less physically able to function, and still maintain, the inspiration and the connection that they have. That the reason they came to Ananda in the first place. They didn't come here to check out in a drug-induced state, trying to just barely keep it. And then the trade-off is: do you make the perfectly safe situation for a person where he has some freedom to move around, some freedom to do things, even though it's not as safe for him, even though it's not as safe, but he's doing what he wants to do. He's doing what he enjoys doing. Instead, you make it so safe he can't move without being in his wheelchair. He can't walk. Instead, he can't walk down the hall because he might fall down. He'll have to call an ambulance. That's going to cost money. Make him stay in his wheelchair. We can't let him do that. And we can't let him give food because if you give him food that he really likes, he's going to choke on it. So we got to give him pureed food so he can swallow the stuff without choking. It goes. When you think about the totality of what they do to people who are aging in these nursing homes. And they do it, they're not doing it for a bad reason. They're doing it because they've taken the idea, we've got to keep them safe and keep them alive and keep the money coming in the door every month. Every month they're here, we get $5,000. Let's just keep them going. Keep them alive. Don't let them get hurt. We'll keep them right in here. We're making good money. This is going great. And I don't know if they think about it in that negative way as I'm describing it, but it certainly has aspects of that. I think it's pretty much of a worldwide situation. Okay, except if you were in India, in a classic Indian home, and also in Asia, you're usually one member of the family, usually a daughter. Either the grandpa stays in the home his whole life. If we as younger siblings of his come into a room, we bow down and touch his feet and honor him as having lived that long and the wisdom that he possesses, and he still participates in the financial and other decisions of the family, and he holds a honored place in it, and they keep him in that place until he passes. And that was pretty well traditional. We didn't just farm people out when it was inconvenient to take care of them and maintain them. We didn't just farm them out to the nursing home because we had our own career to take care of. We were busy. We had too much on our plate, and so we got to get this guy out of here. We can't handle it anymore. Too much trouble. We got to put him on the potty and wipe his butt and take him off the potty, and we can't handle it. And send him down. He's got plenty of money. Let's send him down to the nursing home. And if he doesn't have any money, then it becomes a ward of the state. In the old days, there was something very terrible, which was poorhouses, which they just slammed people in there. They were just pits of suffering and people dying. But now we have government intervention to provide the funding to at least give a decent place for people to pass, even if to be like a nursing home, even though they don't have the finances themselves to take care of it. If you have the finances, you go like my mother-in-law. She went to the Hilton of nursing homes, and Durga's parents. Beautiful, beautiful facility. You start out in your own beautiful apartment, and when you can no longer stay in your apartment, you go to assisted living. And then you have your own beautiful room, and the nursing staff that takes on you. You get taken in a wheelchair or to the nice dining hall, and you have a beautiful meal at dinner time every time, all prepared for you. And then when you no longer function in that level, then you go to the hospital. And the hospital, you're either in the the hospital is the last treadmill you're on. You're heading for the mortuary. And when you get to the hospital, if you don't take you long to see, that guy's he's new here and he is in an apartment. This girl here, I know her, she's been here for 4 years. She's over here at assisted living with me. And my buddy and my good friend Mabel, she just went to the hospital and she died last week. And out the door she went. I know. So I don't know that it's bad, but it's I don't know why I'm even talking about it. But I'm talking about it because I'm thinking about in terms of Ananda and our work and how we care for all these people we love. We are so blessed. We have so many friends compared to most people in the world, I believe. What do we know? 100 people fairly intimately, even like us. We haven't spent much time together, but we're friends because we share a common lifestyle and a common interest and a common love. So we can sit here and talk and be friends as if we'd been doing this our whole life. And we have hardly talked to each other more than 10 or 15 times. We know each other. So, but it goes much deeper than that. And so I'm hoping that those relationships will allow us to bring to bear the kind of energy it takes to take care of a lot of people passing through this stage of life that I am about to enter.
So who else is on that Care and Aging Committee?
Karuna is the head of it, and Durga and myself are on it, and Sue Loper Powers, who's in nursing, is on it, and John Ernst's wife is been a big part of it. She's their caregiver, and Sabri is on it, and there's about 10 or 12 people more on it right now.
Sounds
and
appropriate.
It's going to have to go. Vic, what's his name? Vic Vienhoff. Is on it. He's been in home care for many years. Vishnu's been in home care for many years. He's very good at it, and so all of us are starting to get some training in some of the mechanics of it. How do you take a person's blood pressure? How do you help them learn how to use a cane?
Huh.
How do you make them learn how to use a walker? What's a proper way to use a walker? All of those kind of things you can do to significantly help somebody as they get to that point.
Is there a policy at Ananda, either spoken or unspoken, to discourage people in their senior years from moving here for that reason?
I think there may be an unspoken reluctance to take people in who are elderly and facing some level of disability because of how do we adequately take care of them? How's it possible for us?
Yeah.
Now, I went through this whole thing. My younger brother, 6 years younger than me, died of Alzheimer's 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad both died of cognitive function and Alzheimer's. So when I saw that, I said, I think I will go to the Amen. You've heard of the Amen Clinic?
No.
Amen is the leading doctor in developing treatment for Alzheimer's and many other cognitive function.
Okay.
Has a big clinic down in Florida and down in Walnut Creek. And he's written many books. Anybody you talk to who's in cognitive function, they know all about Amen Clinic.
Okay.
But I went to Amen Clinic and I had a brain scan.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a scan of my brain, one physically, and they can tell what's going on in your brain by looking at the physical brain. And then they also do a scan energetically to see out of all the different all the different 11 areas of your brain, how much activity is coming out of those areas. And then they gave me 3 days of cognitive testing in many different levels, and so they could make a pretty good assessment of where I was, and then designed a program for me, which basically at my stage I didn't need any medication, but I take a lot of supplements to help brain function, and they gave me many things that they wanted me to do. Learn to play an instrument, do crossword puzzles, exercise, eat properly, eat well, meditate. A whole series of things that are you wouldn't have to ask somebody. You could make them up you could make them up yourself. You know what they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But really, to encourage people to be doing those things, if they are trying to preserve their cognitive function, and move forward and have they'd be able to keep their ability to function a lot longer than they would if they didn't pay any attention to those things.
So what instrument are you learning?
Well, now, my friend, you've asked a very sensitive question to me, which is why I wouldn't let you film me. Now, the question for me is that I have never been very musically adept or inclined. Not such as yourself, who is a beautiful singer, and you share that with the whole world in a very wonderful way. I've been receiving of you some of the songs and blessings that come through your voice when you do that. It's amazing what you do. But anyway, Durga was really for many years one of the leading chanters at Ananda, forever and ever. And then her voice went out, and she got embarrassed to keep chanting, and wouldn't do it anymore. She'll do it at home, or she does it for herself, or does it occasionally, but doesn't chant anymore. But then she took up the ukulele about a year ago. Her brother got a ukulele and she got a ukulele.
I heard about
that. And she learned how to play the ukulele, and she's got about 100 songs she can sing on the ukulele.
Wow.
And it is really fun. Swami songs, chants, Bob Dylan songs, all the old popular songs. She is really good at the ukulele. And she was doing something that people really like. People who were not doing very well, she would go over to their place and give them a ukulele concert and play a lot of fun songs that they knew from the old days. And that was fun for her. And it was, we're getting ready to go back east next week to a family reunion. So she now has got a whole album set of the songs she's going to be doing by having sing-alongs with the family back there with ukulele.
Wow, great.
Really fun. So now you got back to my problem. So now I said, okay, I like playing the harmonium. I got some chance I can do. I'm not a very good singer, but I but I like to go to kirtans and be part of the kirtan. I love it. So then Durga said, "Why don't you get a keyboard?" So now I got a nice keyboard sitting in the bottom drawer in my bedroom because I have a lot of resistance to actually playing it. I'd be better if I would play the harmonium, which I can play some chants on harmonium, and just keep playing them until I was really good at them.
Sure.
But
well, why not just play the harmonium?
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Now, you know something, boy. Just think someone to come in and comes up with an idea that could change everything for me. I may do that. She keeps
there's a little electronic Casio
yeah.
that has a harmonium equivalent
sound. But you play it with okay, but you're not pumping.
You're not pumping, so
you're not pumping. You're playing it with one hand.
I think it's better for your
mine is
brain.
really good. I have a really good Casio. I have a really good one. It does the harmonium sound.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah. All right.
Anyway,
you know what to do.
Yeah, I know what to do. I know what to do, and so my what I do really good with exercise and diet and those aspects of my sadhana, and that's all fine.
I know you and Kent regularly go out and do stuff, which impresses me. You know, it inspires me to do the same as much as I can.
Well, me and Mr. Williams were big bike riders now, you know. Mm-hmm. So we're having a lot of fun with that.
Right. And e-bikes are the thing.
We're on e-bike. Oh, you know, I rode analog bikes when probably about 8 or 9 years ago, I got into riding analog. I had a very high-end analog bike. I mean, it was a regular pedal bike, but high-end road bike. And rode that up here for about 4 years, but it became a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. I was getting a little older, and we live in the hills here. Yeah. You know, we go down to Bridgeport, we go up to Yuba Pass. Everywhere we go is hills. We go around Moonshine Loop.
I know.
we go up to the up the road, cruise on grade, go down to the state park, all the way down there. So those are the rides we do all the time. Yeah. So I was getting not so much fun for me on the analog bike. So I was starting to ride less and less and less. Mm-hmm. Then Bob Stoltzman got a e-bike. Mm-hmm. And we saw what an e-bike could do, and so Kent and I both got e-bikes, and I even upgraded my e-bike to a better e-bike, and they change everything. They make everything possible. Yeah, you still get a better workout because you're riding more and going further, and you only give it the amount of boost you need to be able to go up that hill. Yeah. You don't it's not like a motorcycle. You're pushing the pedal every inch of the way, and you decide how much boost you want to do, and we sort of try to use the least amount of boost we can to make it comfortable to do what we're doing. Like Kid and I rode from Downeyville to Yuba Pass on my birthday a few days ago. Wow. 50 miles round trip. It's not a big deal for a real bike rider. Those guys, Tour de France rider, ride 100 miles and not even think about it. But for us old guys, that's a pretty good ride.
It is.
So anyway, I do love that, and I was a runner most of my life. You might probably know that, and that was also a big part of my sadhana. The running and the space that you get in when those endorphins are flowing and you're focus and you're running. I have found it very spiritually beneficial for myself, and I'm finding the same thing on the bike. So not so much maybe when I'm riding with someone. A lot of times I ride alone, and that's a very interiorized. You got it's like meditation sort of, but you got so many things moving to keep your bike going and keep you focused that you get in this zone. You get into a zone that is very much like a deep meditation kind of a zone. And so it's a lot more benefits to it than just the exercise portion of it.
So it's so much fun talking to you about current stuff, and I'll leave this up to you. But do you want to talk about? Well, I mean, for Swami, of course. I mean, I'm really interested as to your relationship with Swami. And
I met Swami. Maybe Durga told us there was a event called the Meeting of the Ways in San Francisco. Durga probably said this.
She mentioned that. Yep.
So I had that same experience as she had in immediately seeing that here was a guy that had a definite attraction to us from his wisdom and the way he reacted to other things that were going on around by the other people, by Yogi Bhajan, Pirbalai Khan, and some of the other people who were there. So we ended up coming up to Ananda. Each of us spent a week up at the meditation retreat, and then eventually we decided to move up there. We moved up and lived in a tent on the road out to Bald Mountain, and that's how we started our career. Prakash and I, who I just worked with a little bit, it's funny, I'm still hanging on at the retreat, finishing off a lot of things I started. Thing is that one of the first jobs that Prakash and I did at the meditation retreat, we were digging outhouse holes by hand, 10 feet deep. We had a shovel and a bucket, and when we got down fairly deep, the guy that was turned to be in the hole would fill the dirt, bucket up with dirt, tow it up, dump it out, and we'd go down till we got 10 feet down. And then the outhouse was built on top of the hole. So about a month ago, a woman named Sarah Lyon from the county department, who's in charge of septic system, came out to inspect our septic system. And so as I was taking Sarah around, she noticed that we had an outhouse sitting down by Lahiri cabin down in the meadow. And she said, "Is that an outhouse?" I said, yeah, it's an outhouse. I said, "We've had it here for the 10 years I've been here, and I believe it's probably been here for the last 40 years minimum." Although the outhouse had been replaced in the last couple of years, a brand new, beautiful outhouse, and I had dug a new outhouse hole for it at the same time. So it's a really nice outhouse. So she came back, and I got a letter saying that she's looked up our history in 2005. In 1995, they had been given a use permit that let them keep the outhouse for an additional 10 years. That ended in 2005, and we were now in violation of the ordinance. And those outhouses, I had two. I let her know I had two of them, although I really had three. I told her about two. Those outhouses have to be abandoned, or you're going to be in violation. And what will happen is that we will have to have a professional company come out and exhume the material from the bottom of the outhouse, send it to a laboratory, check it for pathogens, make sure the material is then neutralized, and then it'll have to be taken to a site where it can be disposed of, now that it's been proven to be clean, and then they'll have to come back in and fill that outhouse hole with clean, untampered dirt. First, they have to put a layer of that white powder, lime, lime and water, and then water the lime in, and then fill it with clean fill. And so, God Almighty, it gives me thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. But finally, because she's a nice woman, I was able to work with her over a period of about a month. She finally agreed to let us do the burial of the getting rid of it ourselves, as long as I took photos of her and showed the outhouse being moved, showed the picture of the hole, showed the lime and the water going in, showed the thing being backfilled with clean dirt. So Prakash and I just did the abandonment for the two outhouses. So we were laughing a lot about that.
Yes.
That's where we started, and that's where we finished. Outhouse, anyway.
That's great.
But then, so anyway, I got to have quite a few or several sessions with Swami while I was at the meditation retreat. The first time I was alone with him, and was always quite impressed with the advice that he was given. And we were living up there attending the Sunday services, and just how candid he could talk, how things he would say things that you just don't think a spiritual would say. He was, he was really out there, but very refreshing and very wise and joyful and inclusive of everybody. So it was I was very touched and impressed by him right from the very time I was there at the meditation retreat. Eventually we moved down to the farm and got involved in different jobs. We had probably every job in the world here in the early days, and eventually he was about to build the Crystal Hermitage, and got me involved in managing the job of building the Crystal Hermitage. When we added on the whole, he was down in his little dome then. When we I was the construction guy on that job, and then so I had quite a lot of time with him around that project, and had a good sort of nice friendship and a real easy working relationship with him. It was easy to work with. It was really nice, and so then that sort of led to him asking us to become village managers. I'm not good with the time frame of all these things. We became village managers, and did that job for quite a while. And then at a point in time, he asked us to become, he was going to create a new way of working with Ananda. So he was going to have general managers, which was going to be me and Durga, and spiritual directors, which would be Jyotish and Devi. So for quite a few years, we worked in that model for a long time. And so I worked, out of the office up at Rajasi Park. My office was up there, and I had Latika work with me, and Derek Van Atten, and Steve Weber, and Corral's wife Suzanne was our HR person. We had a really good team of people. At Atman, I got Atman working for me up there. And so I did that for a long time, but what that provided me was with a need to visit Swami on a regular basis to update him on what was going on in the community. So we met with him quite a lot. I met with him every week or so, and we would go over what was going on and sort of get my walking orders from him. So that was a really good time. Another thing that happened with Swami is when we did the tours around the country, Durga and I went as sort of road managers, and so that was a incredible experience to spend all of that time traveling all over the country with Swami. So we were really blessed to have a lot of time with Swami over the years. We spent a lot of time when we were living at Crystal Hermitage in the apartment upstairs. And Juliana was there, Prahlad was there, and Danny was there, and Rosanna and Juliana. It was like a little family. We became part of a family scene with Swami as the senior. He was still doing everything in the community, but we had this other thing going on. It was like a little family thing with him. We were very blessed to be a part of that, and it was really a beautiful time for all of us. So that, and then eventually that time passed on, and we moved on to doing different things we've done. We've been in India for a couple of years. When we went, we got called to India by Swami on one day because the Swaners, you've heard of the Swaners, who were the people in SRF who were most involved in highlighting to Swami what was going on with the work in India, and Swami had them come to meet with him in Assisi, and he called us, Asha and David and us and Jyotish and Devi over to be part of that. We were there 1 day or 2 days maybe before Swami sent me and David Praver off to India to establish a beachhead there, which we did at the airport hotel in India, worked for this crazy guy we knew, and ended up renting the first house in 10 by 8 in DFL. And that's what started the whole India work. And from that point, things just began to grow over in India. So we were a part of that cycle, and so, Anyway, and we also had a chance to go on quite a few trips with Swami. And we had a lot of nice times with him. It was really like having a father figure as well as a spiritual teacher. It was really, really very kind, and gave us a lot of energy and support. So it was really great. Yeah, it would take a week to tell all of the things that happened in those days, but that's basically what happened. And then throughout that, then we went from India, and then we came back and ended up in. We went to Portland for a year maybe, and we went to Los Angeles, and then we came back and we were going to go to the meditation retreat on a temporary basis. And so 8 years later, we are just now beginning to withdraw from the meditation retreat. So, but this has been a fantastic point in time for us, because myself, who wanted to pull back from the teaching role, but up at the retreat, I had a whole palette of a place that was falling apart, and it was fit my skill set perfectly. And we remodeled almost everything up there and repaired everything up there. And it'll always keep breaking because it's an old place. And we got the solar system in now, and we're just almost. I sort of wanted to end my career up there with it completely turnkey. I now realize that it will never be what you describe as turnkey, where you walk into the new pristine home, you turn the key, you walk in, everything's absolutely perfect. I couldn't quite get it to turnkey. It's pretty close, but not turnkey. Anyway.
Great, good for you.
Yeah. That was sort of a sketch of what we've done these.
Yeah.
I guess we've been here almost 40-some years, 50 years.
Wow.
74, yeah, a long time ago.
What do you think Swami would say to you, or have you gotten any? What has he said to you? Just about all that you've done.
Okay, I'll tell you what Swami said to me, which is a little bit embarrassing, but you asked me the question. He said, "Teaching will be your salvation." But I didn't take that advice. I didn't do it.
What do you think he meant by that?
Huh?
Did you ask him what he meant, or what do you think?
No, I knew exactly what it meant. He meant that I should get myself more involved in the ministry and sharing the teachings, and that was the path that he felt would be most productive for me spiritually. That's what he was saying to me. And I always had a lot of reluctance to being in that role. Anyway, for me, it has never felt like a comfortable role. I did it for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But it never felt like a comfortable role for me to be in. Okay. And so then I sort of withdrew from it. And, yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, you gave it a shot, which is impressive.
I gave it a shot.
What kind of stuff did you teach?
Oh, I mean, I was a Kriya minister. Okay, and Sunday services. Yeah. And not a lot of classes, but mainly those kind of things. I would go around, when I was the general manager, we'd go around and do the fundraising for the different events and go all to colonies, and always do something, what is it, the colonies, songs and stuff like that. And,
I think just who you are teaches people.
Yeah. I hope not. Anyway.
Well, thank you.
So it's an incredible place, and like any place, you have to be careful not to look at the things that could be better, but realize what a unique community this is, and primarily because there's so many saintly people that are living their lives here to the best of their ability. They're not saints, but they are aspiring to become as good a people as they can and follow as closely as they can to a master's teachings, and that's a difficult thing to do. But they're giving it their very best shot, and I find that very inspiring to be able to be surrounded by everyone you run into. You go to the market, you see people that are have that same mindset. Everywhere you go, everybody you encounter is like that, and so we're very blessed to be in this vibration and surrounded by people who are so holy and focused on living an uplifting life. And we may not get to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but we're probably going to get a better birth because of the fact that we were here next time. Yeah. You can't be here and not make progress, even if you don't feel like you're really doing that much. But just being here is a big deal. Yeah.
How do you feel about the young folks that are coming or that are here?
Well, I think we've got some really, really, really fine young people coming. I would like to see more of them. And then we have one of our issues, from my point of view, is that we could end up just being an old age home because people who lived out in the world or had means or inheritances are the people that can afford to spend $500,000 to build a house here right now, or $700,000 to build a house here. And a young person who comes in who is young and idealistic and inspired by Master's teaching, hears about Ananda and comes here and goes through all of the process of becoming a member, it's still for them to be able to earn enough money to create a lifestyle that is actually livable. You put a set of tires on your car, it costs you $900. You put gas in your tank today, it costs you $40. You try to put food on the table, you try to pay your rent. It is not. I don't know how we can make this model work better to make it a more friendly place for people to come. It's not that they lack in dedication, but how do you create enough of a lifestyle that they can have in other words, if they're down here living on the fringe of Ananda here, hanging on by their teeth, and they have people driving around in Teslas and going out and going off, flying around the world. I mean, it makes a very juxtaposition between where they are and how do they ever see achieving just a nice lifestyle. And
the other aspect of that is just being able to be creative and do things on your own and make your own mistakes. And, I like at Ananda Farm, I think that's an environment that young people are magnetized towards because they can just take things on. And
I think that is maybe the wave of the future for Ananda. You see that's happening down in LA. They've got that landlord getting down below. This is a farm experiment that you're somewhat a part of. I think you live next to it. And I don't know how much you participate in that up there, but that seems like a really positive thing, like you're saying, for young people. Sacramento just bought some land for a retreat center that they're doing, and and I think Palo Alto has a pretty good group of young people there that they have very actively engaged in a positive way. So I guess the answer is what you're saying is how do we continue to find ways to keep them actively engaged in a creative process and the ability to make some of their own decisions and to sort of do it the way that they feel they can be most serviceful, Like we're good friends with Ali and Peter. Ali and he sort of bounced around a lot of different jobs, and what he's really decided to do is to take his business, the business they have making benches and that, and use that as a medium for being able to take out the teachings and share the teachings with people. So making it more, so they've been out to LA and out to Kentucky and out to different places where they can go out to a trade show, bring their product, and then he's been teaching classes and meditation at these trade shows. So for someone who didn't sort of fit into the mold and make it and have it sort of work for him here to become one of the new bright Sunday service ministers here, but they have found a way to reach out and be able to share the teachings, through the vehicle of the Meditation Bench Company. And I think things like that are being able to provide the space for that kind of creativity from people is really important for us if we're going to keep going forward. We got to find ways to get these guys engaged, and then find ways to make it economically feasible for them to be here, so that they can actually, I'm not wanting anybody to become, have anything more than a basic lifestyle that actually works, that you have enough money to maintain without having that cloud over your head every month is how you're going to pay the bills here next month,
Well, that feels pretty good, my friend. Thanks for sharing everything that you did.
Yeah, nice having a little visit with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.